Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Ben Thompson and Naga Munchetti.
Our headlines this morning. The UK closes its doors to travellers from India as hospitals there run out of oxygen and infection rates hit levels unseen anywhere so far in the pandemic.
All arrivals into the UK will be red list arrivals, so passengers face 10 days in quarantine.
The post office scandal which left dozens of workers with criminal convictions. The postmasters who hope their names will finally be cleared today.
The work to save England's highest mountain from erosion caused by lockdown walks.
Good morning. A watershed moment for football, according to the government, who'll be looking at club ownership as part of a review into the game in England led by the fans.
Good morning. I'm at Arundel Castle this morning where their annual Tulip Festival is underway. It is a cold but bright start here. I'll bring you all the weather details in about 10 minutes.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 24th of April. Our top story is that new restrictions for people coming to the UK from India have come into force this morning as the country joined the UK's red list, which effectively bans travel.
India has seen record infection rates, a rapidly rising death toll and the discovery of a new virus variant. 6 hospitals in the Indian capital, Delhi, have now completely run out of oxygen. Caroline Davis reports.
The last few arrivals before India is added to the red list. There was joy for those who made it back.
It's amazing, honestly. It's amazing. I feel like kissing the ground.
Aditya had travelled to India for his grandmother's funeral.
It was expensive, I must say that.
It was expensive?
Yeah, just like triple the time the prices I paid. But yeah, I'm finally happy that I'm here.
Yesterday, India saw the highest one-day tally of new COVID-19 cases anywhere in the world. Crowds built outside hospitals in major cities as they reached capacity, and there were reports that some died while waiting for oxygen. Shankar Baheti's family spent the day searching for oxygen for him. His niece told the BBC his relatives drove 5 hours to find a supply yesterday. They'll have to do the same again today.
It's distressing. I can't imagine what his daughter, who's younger to me, my cousin, and his son, they must be going through right outside the hospital. They're stationed outside and running here and there at every lead to get to fill a cylinder or to get that oxygen.
The so-called Indian variant of the virus is still being investigated. Today's new restrictions in England mean anyone arriving from India from 4 a.m. this morning must quarantine in a hotel for 10 days at their own expense. Quarantine hotels like the Sofitel at Heathrow have been running for more than 2 months. The management told the BBC its sister hotel in Gatwick has just opened, employing an extra 100 people, expecting demand to go up. While the industry waits, hoping international travel will reopen next month, England's red list of countries gets longer as countries confront new waves of the virus. Caroline Davis, BBC News.
Let's talk to our reporter Tim Muffet, who's outside Heathrow Airport for us this morning. Tim, morning to you. Now, we do know, now that this travel, India is on the red list, we still know that there are a number of flights due to arrive from India today.
That's right, yeah. There were already 39 countries on the red list, including Brazil, Argentina and Pakistan. But from 4 a.m. this morning, as we heard, India has been added to that list, so there are now 40. Now, anyone travelling from India to the UK will be refused entry unless they have a UK or Irish passport or residency rights. Then they face that 10-day quarantine and a government-approved hotel at their own expense. Now, we understand the last flight to make it in before the red list kicked in was just before 7 o'clock last night. And as you say, there are some flights due to arrive from India today, but those now will be red list arrivals. One of them is due about 7 past. It's now probably coming in about 8 o'clock. That's a Virgin Atlantic flight from Mumbai, and Virgin Atlantic have confirmed that all the people who got onto that flight had to prove that they had a booking at a government-approved quarantine hotel. So this is clearly going to cause a huge amount of disruption, as we saw in Caroline's report a little while ago. And the situation in India does seem very, very desperate. Soaring infection rates, some hospitals are overrun, and that is why India is on the red list. Public Health England confirmed yesterday that a further 55 cases of the variant first seen in India have now been found in the UK, taking the total to 187.
Yeah, there's some really scary, frightening figures. Tim, thanks very much. Tim Muffet there.
The convictions of around 40 former postmasters who were accused of stealing money from the post office are expected to be quashed by the Court of Appeal later. More than 700 postmasters were prosecuted between 2000 and 2014 because of a faulty computer system. The Post Office has apologised for its failure and has said today's hearing will be an important milestone in addressing the past.
Now, a review into English football is going to consider creating a new regulator and examine how to give fans a greater say in how their clubs are run.
Well, the review was ordered after the collapse of the European Super League, and it will also consider interventions to protect clubs' identities. Mark's looking at this for us this morning. Mark, good morning.
Yes, good morning again.
So controversial.
Yeah.
What do we know about this review?
Well, details came out last night about what they're going to be looking at. So there's no concrete proposals as such, but we know the areas they're going to be concentrating on. And they're looking into how they can give fans greater control. So starting with the way clubs are run. And they will look at how they can give fans more control, greater say in how their clubs are run. They will look at the German model in the Bundesliga, where teams are only allowed to take part if commercial investors hold no more than a 49% stake in their ownership. And this does give fans a major say in the running of the clubs. Interestingly, of course, no German clubs were going to be taking part in the European Super League. The fans wouldn't have let that happen. And the feeling is they want fans to feel that the clubs are more protected. The identities, the badges, their grounds, and if they have more of a say, that can happen. So that could take actual more government intervention, perhaps. That's not being ruled out at all, but we don't know what sort at that point. Also, you know, at the moment they've got this club's ownership test, the owners and directors fit and proper persons test. Do they need to add criteria, something that's stricter to make it more stringent? So that's another thing they're going to be looking at. You've got a puzzled look on your face.
I just have loads and loads of questions. So I know this 50.1, 50+1 rule in Germany, as you were saying. So fans have almost the majority stake.
And they could stop things like the clubs going into the European Super League. They'd say, no, we're not letting our club do that.
But do they then, will they, if they have a say in the club, do they have a say in the team? Do they have a say in kind of money
No, I don't think
we're
talking, that's the manager's role. I think we're talking about how the clubs are run.
Distribution of money?
Potentially. I mean, that's one area that if they've got more control, that could be,
And advertising rights and
I think the aim is to stop things that have happened in the past where clubs have been used as almost like a plaything for owners to make money with. You know, there one moment, gone the next. People will think of clubs like Portsmouth where that happened to a certain extent. And also they'll look at whether the overall sport needs a new regulator to oversee the Premier League, English Football League and also the FA, whether an independent regulator is needed. So they want this to be a watershed moment. They want fans to have a major say in this review over the next few weeks or months, but of course the proof will be in the pudding when we actually see direct action measures being taken. That's what fans want to see.
I think what we're pleased is that fans are getting a say, because that's what will happen about the European Super League.
Exactly.
Mike, thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike. Now, one dose of either the AstraZeneca or Pfizer vaccine will reduce coronavirus infections by nearly 2/3.
This is a new study by the Office for National Statistics and the University of Oxford. It found that the jabs work just as well in older and more vulnerable people as in younger and healthier individuals. Our science correspondent, Halab Ghosh, has more, warning there are some flashing images in this report.
When Margaret Keenan became the first person to be immunised in a mass vaccination programme, doctors were confident from the clinical trials that her jab and millions of others would be effective. Since then, infection rates have plummeted. But it's been hard to tell how much of this has been due to lockdown measures and how much has been down to the jabs. The new study indicates that the vaccines are likely to have had a big impact. It also confirms that the decision to give as many people as possible a first dose by delaying the second was the right one. Among the findings are that 2 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech jab reduced infection by 90%. Not enough people have had 2 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca jab to assess its impact, but comparison of the first doses show that it's just as good as Pfizer. And both jabs are just as effective in people aged over 75 or with underlying health conditions as they are in younger, healthier people.
What we've found is that vaccination works equally well across all ages, and also that people with long-term health conditions were equally well protected by vaccinations. We've seen good protection from one dose of vaccine, but we've seen that you get the best protection having had a second dose of vaccine. So we'd really like to encourage people to take up the opportunity to have a second dose of their vaccine once this is available.
The next stage of the research is to find out how long the jabs continue to protect people in order to decide when to begin the next round of vaccinations. Palab Ghosh, BBC News.
Hairdressers and beauticians in Northern Ireland can reopen from today as COVID restrictions are eased. Driving lessons and tests are also back on, along with outdoor visitor attractions and some activities like organised sport and music rehearsals, so long as they take place outside and without spectators.
Meanwhile, the easing of some lockdown measures in Wales has been brought forward by 2 weeks after the latest review of restrictions. Indoor activities for children can resume and group exercise classes will now be allowed from the 3rd of May. It's hoped pubs and restaurants can reopen from May the 17th. From tomorrow, up to 6 people from 6 households can meet outdoors.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a car was driven at 2 people in Surrey yesterday afternoon. The man in his 40s died in the supermarket car park where the crash happened in Walton-on-Thames. A second man was seriously injured and airlifted to hospital. The 26-year-old driver has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder.
The Treasury has published a series of emails and text messages relating to David Cameron's attempts to lobby the government on behalf of the finance firm Greensill. The documents reveal how he and businessman Lex Greensill tried to persuade the Treasury to include the firm in the coronavirus loan scheme. The application was rejected and the company has since collapsed. Several inquiries have now been set up into David Cameron's links to the finance firm.
It's 12 minutes past 6. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have released a new photograph of their youngest child, Prince Louis, to celebrate his 3rd birthday today.
Yeah, the picture shows the young royal, who is 5th in line to the throne, on his first day at nursery school. It was earlier this week.
The image was taken by his mother, the Duchess of Cambridge, who's a keen photographer.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.